Good morning, everyone. Hi, welcome to the webinar regarding the derived columns and formulas, how you can use it, how it can be used within Himalaya, and all the secrets. I hope you'll enjoy the webinar. Let's first start and take a look at a dashboard, a dashboard that can be used to visualize, in this case, customers and the sales, what their revenue is, etc. And let's get started with just looking at what is a derived column. For us, within Himalaya, a derived column is when you use items within your data set and you're going to use them to aggregate or to look at how they can be combined, how they can manage to divide number by gender over amount of genders that you're going to use, and then going to divide it by 8, things like that. That's what derived column can do. And to make sure that for everyone where you can find it is when you open, let's see, the datasets tab, you can go to any dataset that you would like to see, as for example the dataset companies. I can open it. As you can see, we have the add formula button over here. An add formula button makes it possible to, if I open it, to make use these items, which we're going to discuss later on, and going to set them up as such that they make a formula that can create a new column. If you're interested what all the different formulas are, you can always take a look at our academy. As you can see in our academy, we have divided them also into different strings, into different labels as well, and you can use it with also an example. You can compare stuff as such. What we are going to do today is we're going to highlight some of them, a few of them that can be handful if within your data set, if you would like to create a beautiful dashboard. First things first, when we are going to talk about creating a formula ourselves, it's quite important also to know what kind of data that you have. So the data type is something that's quite crucial when you are looking at creating derived columns and the formulas. The different kinds of data types can be found as well on our academy. The data types are supported by Himalaya. As you can see, we have numeric, hierarchical, datetime, topography, coordinates. Why am I showing you this as well? Because it's important that when you are creating a formula that you need 2 columns of the same data type. That's something that's the beginning of everything, and getting to arrange your data as such that it's clear what kind of data you are talking about. Like the company ID here is stated as a numeric data type, but if we would like to combine the customer name and the company ID, we can always click on hierarchy and it will change into. As for now, when you see they have both the same symbol, we can combine them. We can use both of the columns to create a derived column by not dividing, by concatenate and really combine the 2 data sets to create a new one. So that's why it's quite important to know all of your data, what kind of data it is, what the data type is, and it can always be handful to take a look at it as such. And let's get started now to look really at what kinds of differences we have between all the possibilities, between all the formulas, and what you can create with it. So let's get started. The first thing, what we already have discussed, is you can, if you click on add formula, you can create within string a concatenate formula. And what does that mean? That means that you are going to combine two data types, two columns, sorry, to create one item. As such, you're going to use the customer name, and you're going to combine it as such with the company ID. As you can see, now we can give it an own name as well. Customer ID, for example. I'm going to create it, and the data will be shown. As you can see, it is not that really nice because there is no backspace between the name itself, so you can really easy adjust it by clicking on it, going back, and for example putting in a backspace as well. And now it's quite clear that when I save it, it will be changed. It will be changed, and every item now has a unique customer ID combined with the customer name. So that's how you can use concatenate. The concatenate can also be used to can only be used to combine hierarchical data. This is the data like text, etc. Also, like the city name is also an example of the hierarchical data. Now that's the first one. The second one is if you would like to change, I don't know, something within your data, you can replace data as well. I'm going back to my datasets. I'm going to my deals, for example, and within my deals, I have a column name with the responsibility, the person who is responsible of the deal itself. If, for example, you put in a typo or something that you would like to change, you can change it with the replace function. I, for example, missed an E after just in day. It has to be day with a YE after it, so I'm going to adjust it as well. I'm going to replace it by clicking on Add Formula. I'm going to, as you can see within the string, to replace text. I'm going to just drag it as well because we can use it. And as you can see, there's always a little explanation on how you can use the item, how it can be used, and how you need also to fit it in yourself. For example, I'm going to just in a way, it was the responsible user where you had to name day, and we want to change it by day with Y. This now, if I click on it, I'm going to name it as well, responsible user version 2, for example, to create it. And all behind it, you can see that now it has been changed, and just in day now calls just in day with a Y. So that's how you can use the replace function to really adjust the data if you have a little typo, but also if you want to change a variety of things. If you want to change really like the names itself, you can always use it as well. So that's what really something that can be helpful to clean up your data, and also to look at really the correct data as well. What's also something interesting within the string menu is that when we are going to look at the numeric position of some letters within a string, it's always important to also look at, for example, the the really find substring and the take substring. The take substring makes it possible to identify two positions within a value, and to only take the all the other things that are between those two positions. So that's something that we can, for example, use. But first things first, we had some things here that we can use, like the lower and the upper case. The uppercase really makes it possible, for example, to change um, the data itself all into large capitals. For example, the customer name, I want it all to be in large letters, and I can just type customer name. I'm going to use the tab function that it recognizes the value, and now I'm going to name it customer name version 2, for example, as well. I'm going to create it, and as you can see, it's all in large capitals. All large capitals, as such that if you want to use it to really make it an eye opener or something that can be used as well, it's something that is there for. Now going back, as you can see, there are some other derived columns as well that we can create. Derived columns as such, like the, I'm going to check really quick, like the other differences, not only string but also date and time. Date and time, something that can be quite handful, especially if you have different um, dates where you want to create or you want to use something like the date different. That's something that's quite popular and is used in a lot of ways. A date different makes it possible to identify the amount of days that is in between two dates. For example, the date different, the date different function can be used to identify when a deal has been entered and also when, quite important, the date, the decision date as well. Now, because we need to identify what we need to know, and as you can see, we need to know the amount of days. That's why we're going to add in front of it the slash the date as well. I'm going to close it, and now I got the date different, date different. So that's the closing time. That's what the time you need to close a deal. I'm going to create it, and for example, we have a deal that was created here 15th of November. I'm going to use it as well to look at when it was won. The 4th, it's quite strange. And you can see that it's 15 days in between. So that makes it possible, as you can see, to really identify how many days it needs, and then you can really use it within a dashboard. I'll show later on how to use like the closing time within a dashboard, as such that you can create averages for the responsible, and so you can see who has the least closing time, so who closes deals as fast as possible. But also what can be of any help is that you can say, all right, I want to know just the difference, what's the average, is there a difference between closing time but also between how large the deal was itself. That makes it all possible when you have a closing time within the tab. What's next? What's next within the add formula, within the formula editor, is when we have the date and time. As you can see, we can always have the now function. That's just going to say what it is at this moment. This is going to be updated also every time you're going to look at your dashboard. It will have a new variable. Will have some new value. You can create, if you want to know the year, quarter, the month, the week, the day of the month, and day of the week. And the day of the week is something that can be useful to know, and I'll show you in a minute, really which deals, which days are having the most deals won, or on which day do we lose the most. How you can use day of the week is you can just or write it, or you can select this via a drag and drop system. And I'm going to say day of the week of the decision day. Decision day is being the day when they close or when they close the deal, no matter if it's won or lost. And it's the day of the week, and will give me, if I'm going to create it, it's going to give me, as you can see, a number, and this represents the number of the weekday, starting when 1 means Monday. This is not saying something, so I'm going to adjust it as such that we can use it. So I need to change it from a numeric data into a hierarchical data, and that's also something that we can use. It's something that we can, as you can see, we can combine, because we can cast it, and cast means that we're going to change it into really, oh, I made a typo, into, this is what's called a conversion, and this means that you have the cast function, and that it will be casted into a hierarchy, for example. So now it's going to give me really the day itself, and we can adjust in hierarchy also the hierarchy itself. Edit it. As such, it is not 1, but 1 point Monday, 2 points Tuesday, and so you can really manage the Thursday, the dashboard itself. Friday, there are no deals being closed on Saturday, so we do not have that value. Sunday it is. Now it has been adjusted, as you go to away, and you can see that it has the numbers itself. For example, if you want to use it, I'm going to go to my dashboard. This is a dashboard that has been created that we can use. I'm going to edit it as well. It says something like the expected and the total price. It's also something that we can really create, or that we can use the mathematical formulas for, but now I'm just going to show you guys how we can use the differences for the weeks, for the weekdays. I have my, as you can see, I have my day of the week. This is going to be a category, Tuesday, and I'm going to look into that. I'm going to filter out everything with a deal, because you want to know only the ones with a closed deal. So we're going to the total price exclusive, that's our measure, and I'm going to exclude something like I only want to know the closed one. I already created some derived columns that can help us. So open or non-open deal will give me also a way to filter on it and to create only those, to only see those who are not live. So go into filter tab, see where we are combining now some other things as well, like filtering that we discussed some in some earlier webinars. So this can always be used. I want the one who are finished, apply, okay, and also the one who are, as you can see, phase, we got different phases. I only want the ones who are accepted. Apply. Well, on Monday and on Friday, as you can see, they have the most values when it came. So this can be used. If I'm going back to my dataset, I'm going to use here the little shortcut. Going back to my deals dataset, I'm going to show you some other things that might be interesting or that you can use. As such is the conditional. For the conditional means that I'm going to string date. I'm going to discuss mathematical in a minute, but first conditional. It's everything with an if function. An if function can be used to create not only different data that has a value and that is conditional on the amount of it, but also if it is, we're looking at hierarchical data, the same value, yes or no. I'm going to show you already some that is one that already has been created. So this is open or not, and this means that if the face group stays open, so it's as you can see on the little icon, it's a hierarchical data, or its face group in the freezer, then it states that it is not finished. If it's otherwise, it is finished. So this is how you can know if your deals are open or not open, and it can be used in one column, in one variable, to really look into it. With David, you can see as well that we have 346 open, really open, finished deals, and there are still 83 that are open. So that also explains why we had an MA of for 83 deals not applicable, because they did not have decision date, so that can be used. As you can also saw within the formula itself, we have an OR function, and that means because I'm going to show you, we have something that we call the logical tabs that can be used to really put a logical AND and logical or even a NOT. This means that you can combine different formulas or different part of the formula to really create the one that states what you need. This is something that can be used, but also you can really create formulas that are huge, but if the logic is correct, it will always show you the correct data as well. So this as well, this is a cast, is a very good example for how you can cast, for example, this is stating the number of the face, where it is, and you can visualize it in a funnel, as shown, as you can see here. This is in a funnel as well, how many deals there are and in which space you can find. Now, something that we did not discuss yet is the coordinates. It's something that was also could be important and also has been discussed in the earlier webinar. So just I'm going to go over it quite quick to show you guys how it can be used, but also what the functions are. This is a case of public Wi-Fi, public network connections that is giving me the locations of the access points within a city in Belgium, and if I open the dataset, it gives me the latitude and the longitude that is needed to create a coordinates. So clicking on the add formula, we do not only have the date, the mathematical, the conditional, conversion, comparison, which you already discussed. Comparison being really larger than, larger, equal to, such. But below it all, we have the coordinates. Coordinates can, as you can see, also be used to, if I'm going to drag and drop it into it, really create the coordinates that can be used within a symbol map or such. Using them is really adding the right variables, and then the famous to end it all. It's always shown within the little tab, also some explanation, so you can always take a look at it as well. So these are the coordinates. Go to create it, and coordinates, as you can see, are combining the two, latitude and longitude. Going back to the dashboard, now I can really load it as, because it needs a geography, as a coordinate within the tab. And it will show me, as you can see, all the points where we have a public access. So these are the different kinds of data, different kinds of formulas that you can use. These are also the different kinds of formulas that can be combined. As you can see, what can also be used, we did not discuss it, but we have the mathematical, and it's really the, if I want to make a sum, if I want to divide something, if I want to multiply, these are all the ones used or can be used as well. There are quite a lot of them and can be used, and it's all up to you to it can help you out how to create it. Always interesting to also take a look at the formulas who are all stated and listed up within the Academy. Uh, and I think that I covered now the most interesting things or the ones that can use you out when you are dashboarding yourself. So I'm going back to voila. Hi guys, here I'm back. I hope you really enjoyed the webinar. I hope you really enjoyed what you could do with a formula. And if you have any questions, you can always mail us, you can always give us a call, and we are always really happy to help you out.